The nation of Chile has a Jewish population of some 18,000. That's the third largest in South America. But it also has a Palestinian community of some 500,000. That is the biggest outside the Arab world. And it is the latter that now has a self-professed friend and supporter in Chile's new president, the left-wing Gabirel Boric. Now, he has been a harsh critic of Israel, calling it a, quote, genocidal state. And he's called out Chilean Jews pointedly on that issue. For example, when the local Jewish community sent him a present for the Jewish New Year, Rosh Hashanah, Boric tweeted this reply, quote, "The Jewish community in Chile sends me a jar of honey for the Jewish New Year, reaffirming its commitment to a more inclusive and supportive and respectful society. I appreciate the gesture, but they could start by asking Israel to return the illegally occupied Palestinian territory." Ouch, I would say. Well, joining us now in studio is Gabirel Colodro, the president of the Chilean Jewish Community of Israel, an immigrant from Chile, and with us also Sivan Gobrin, the spokesperson and vice president of the Chilean Jewish Community of Israel. And Gabirel, tell us about this new, your namesake, this new president of Chile and his attitudes about Israel.
Well, first of all, we have to recognize that he's the president-elect. So, taking that in consideration, he has a background that we cannot avoid talking about. With all due respect of the people that voted for him, his actions, his compromises that are signed in paper are towards supporting BDS as a main goal in his presidency. Mm-hmm. So we're very worried because, you know, for us Chileans living in Israel, BDS means discriminating us directly.
Right.
So making this a law will make Chile the first country in the world like legalizing BDS.
BDS. And Sivan, talk about now the Jewish community and pressure it may feel. You saw that it's one thing for him to condemn Israel, but he almost seems to be condemning your community for not agreeing with his positions.
Exactly. There are a lot of people that confuse like anti-Zionism, anti-Semitism, but at the end of the day, it's the same thing. In Chile, they say, oh, he criticizes Israel. It's not against the Jewish community, but in the moment that he receives the honey jar for Rosh Hashanah, it's a direct message for the Jewish local community. So people are worried what is going to happen. Although we have Jewish people in Chile that also support Boric because they see his social agenda, they feel identified with that. Mm-hmm. And they think that his message to Israel doesn't have to do with them. But they don't understand that this comes back like a boomerang to the local Jewish community. So they're very worried.
Right, like a litmus test for the community. Gabirel, I think a lot of people don't know or unaware that there is such a big Palestinian community outside of the Arab world. As I said, like 500,000, very established there, far outnumbering certainly the Jewish community. Talk about it, what that's like for the Jewish community when you have such I presume also a community with quite a lot of political influence there.
Well, there have been situations that have been very clear on the power and the political power that the Palestinian community has in Chile. For example, during the 2014 war, they managed to get hundreds of thousands of people in the street protesting against Israel, people that have no relationship with the conflict that we're living, but they're supporters of Palestine, eyes closed. And that makes very, very hard for the Jewish life in Chile to express freely. There's a lot of fear that's manifested in many ways, but we see it in the everyday life that people are not free to express their Judaism as they would do in another country. So that's very complicated for Jews in Chile.
Right. Well, Sivan, that raises the question. Of course, Chile has not seen, for example, something like the bombings that we saw in Argentina in the 1990s, but with the changing political ties there, how concerned should the Chilean Jews and those who do feel that expressing support for Israel or their Jew or being outwardly Jewish may face pressure, should consider maybe following the path that you two have taken, obviously, in coming to live in Israel?
I have heard of a lot of families that were very worried before Boric won now. When he went to primaries with Daniel Jadwe, his from the Communist Party, that he is one of the most anti-Semitic people that were recognized by the Byzantine organization. People already made aliyah in June of this year because they were worried, not Daniel Jadwe or Boric, if they were going to be elected, they were already in fear. And now I think that we're going to receive more families. And also there's a fear, I hope that we don't get to what happened in Argentina. Nobody wants that. But, you never know the connections that can be there. You never know the support that he can receive from the back. If he has the support of the Palestinian community in Chile, although they are not Muslims, actually most of them are Christian. But you don't know the connections. And there are people that praise Hamas and Hezbollah. We have people in the Congress, congressmen that are friends of Hezbollah and everything. So you never know what kind of connections he can give from the side, from the backstage, as you can would say.
Right. I agree with Gabriel. It seems like South Africa is sort of seesawing between leaders who are very vocally supportive of Israel, and we're seeing that in some nations, in Brazil, in Honduras, and those like Chile or Venezuela that seem to be turning in extreme the other way. I mean, it seems this is a concerning trend even on a continental level, let's say.
Yeah, that's true. As I said before, Chile is the only country in the world right now with a BDS bill sitting in the parliament. It's the only country in the world with an active BDS bill. So, as I said before, we're very worried about that. There has been no show of going back on the making laws against discrimination in Chile, the efforts of the Jewish organizations to establish, for example, the definition of anti-Semitism globally accepted in Chile. This hasn't been a governmental body that has interiorized this definition. So there's no legal way to defend the Jewish community against BDS right now.
All right, well, that is a disturbing trend, and we'll just have to see how things develop there in Chile. Of course, we wish that community its best. Gabirel Colodro and Sivan Gobrin, thank you for joining us on I-24 News.